Hello guys, welcome back to One Source Studio, on your friendly programming channel. Okay, this is part 2 on the series on advanced object-oriented programming. We've gone to the predicates in the first tutorial. Now we're gonna actually get started. Okay, what exactly is object-oriented programming? A lot of people need to get familiar with object-oriented programming because it's such a key concept in JavaScript when working with data. Because when working with data in any language. Okay, object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm, a practical way of working on object programming. What this means is just a way of working with objects. It's just a way of working, so your code is much more efficient. When you write code using objects, your code is much more efficient, and you can run code that's fluent, and so you don't have to keep creating a lot of objects, for example. So you don't have to write a lot of functions for objects. What is an object? Okay, what is an object? Well, in the real life, we all know what objects are in the real life. They're like things like a man, a human being is an object, a bird is an object, a a gamepad is an object. In the real world, we all know what objects are, but in programming language, an object in a programming language like JavaScript, an object is denoted by its key and value. Here's a key and a value. So, like a car has wheels, tires, a steering wheel, and a lot of other properties like that's necessary, like the components of that make up a car: the engine, the gas pedal, the brake pedal, and these are like components of a car. But in JavaScript, it's a key, or it's object is denoted by a key and a value. I'll show you how to initialize that. Okay. So on the last tutorial, I said that you will need Node.js, and this is why. Because we're going to be running JavaScript inside the Node.js environment. We're not using inside the Node.js environment. We're not using the browser to create our objects. We're using the V8 engine still, but we're using Node to run it. I'll show you how to use that. So if we read this, the syntax for creating an object is the declaration variable, the object name, equal the assignment operator to the key, to the open curly braces key, colon, value. This is the actual object. This object name is pointing to this object initializer, and this has a key and a value ending with a curly brackets. In JavaScript, you don't need semicolons, but only if you're working very closely, writing like a minified file. So that's not what I'm talking about today. So we're gonna continue. Access operator, we can use the object name and the key with the dot operator to access the key's value. So if this object name was to get the value of this value, we need to get the object name dot key name. Let's make that a little bit clearer. Okay. Okay, so we're going to use the console log to log out the objects. Okay, so let's create a basic object. The Sam equals an object literal. So the year DOB is the year of this birth. That's 2022. And the current, I'll give an extra property called current year. It's not bound to the object, but we're going to use it later on. I'll show you why. So if we're to get Samuel's first name, or if we're to log out Sam to the console, if we're to log out Sam, we should get this. What do you think will happen? I think you should just go and try this out to see what is working for you. If you're going to see this, just start the program to make sure you got all the syntax correct. So its first name, its name is a key name colon the name of the variable. It can be integers, arrays, or even another object. That's what the value can be. If I was to run this program with node, the command is node node dot slash and you can see that Samuel is an object. It's just a console. If we were to access the first name, we'll use a dot operator. That's it. Dots. So we get the first name Samuel followed by the object because that's what we asked for. We can access the interval with the dot operator. We can also use the array index operator, starting with the array initializer. Okay, so that I'm not gonna show you because I want to show you. So let's go and do it. Okay, you can do Sam dot first name. And we should get Samuel twice. Samuel. You see, it works. Okay. Let's say we want to make another object. We can either copy this code and write it as many times, but now we can either copy this object literal syntax and many times, or we can make a factory function, something that returns an object and holds it in place. We use this for. I'll tell you the difference between objects and constructors in just a second, but they have similar concepts. I'll show you the a human factory function. So to define a human factory, we create a variable. This can be a variable or function, but the function has to be the function cannot be anonymous if it's just a function not stored in a variable. Okay. So what we're doing here, we create a human factory function that's taking a first name, last name, separate the separators, year, date of birth, and current year. These are, and we're taking this and implementing it here. So now this is being assigned to the key. It's a factory. This is what we call factory function. So every time we get human, we should get the inputs of the human that was taken in. So if you call var Tom equals human factory, Tom Maverick, but 1997, current year 2019. If we're to lock Tom, we should see that it's an object. This function returns an object, and we can create many instances of Tom, but a constructor will do much more better. But let's test out this code. If we type in node basics, we see that Tom is well an object. It has a first name, last name, year, date of birth, and the current year. Okay, moving on. Let's say we wanted one working. Let's comment on the human factory for just a second. Let's say we're working with the first Sam only, and because Sam is a literal object in the sense that we're not returning anything. Well, this is not a function. Let's say we wanted Tom. Sam. Let's say we wanted Sam to wanted to get Sam's age. Well, we'll write a simple function for all your functional programmers out there. You may not have to do this, but stick with me. Okay, if you have to do it, go ahead. But I recommend you watch the video and continue. Okay. So var get age equals function Whoop. If we're this is just a regular function, but it's stored in a variable, so we can point to it every time in memory. So we use the code getAge, and it has a return type. So now this scope, this function can be passed around. It can be passed around. That's the main uses of variable functions. That's why I keep using it a lot. I can pass this around. So what you want to, so let's say you wanted to use this getAge function to compute on an object. So we can either do okay, this keyword, ignore this for a second. Let's talk about this keyword that I've just typed in. Okay, this keyword is pointing to an object, but we don't have an object. So we're in this scope now. And then this keyword, we want an object. We're in a function. So this keyword has to point to an object. So it will not be implemented until this is pointing to an object. It will be undefined. This keyword in a function, it's pointing to the function itself, but this function has no name. Okay. So how this works now is we got get age dot call will point would say that will take this some will take an object and will take the call function. It's a high order function, so it comes with every function on every instance for function. This get age dot call Sam will take the object itself and take the current year minus the date of birth, and we should get the age. If we try that, okay, that worked. So if you Tom is 17, but let's say we wanted Tom to have this property. Let's say we wanted Tom to have this property of get age. We can, instead of, because Tom can also have a Tom can sorry Sam. Let's say we wanted Sam to have this property of get age. So it computes the age. So variable objects can also hold functions as a key, or your functions as a key as the value. So we've got to get age, which is now pointing to this function. If you can see here, get age is a type of number. It's written a type of number. So that means we can then Sam dot get age, and now we got the property of age, get age. But let's say we also wanted Tom to have this property of get age. Now let's say Tom is already got objects. Instead of a factory, instead of created by factory, so we'll make a new variable called Tom equals to object literal. We can copy all this code again and type it in, but it's convention that it's practical convention. It's convention that we use something else, but we can do this, and you can do this over and over again and keep writing the same more and more objects, but this is not practical. It's best we use something called constructors and or factory function. So I recommend you don't do this, because you don't do this way. You don't do this way or this way, because this code is in the global scope. Unless you want something from the global scope to be passed around, then because we like in JavaScript, we like working with it in our own scopes. Personally, we have conventions and working. We like working. I personally like working in my own scope. So if this is a function in the function scope, maybe instead of having it in the global function, so we can point to stuff when we make references. We can make a reference instead of pointing to one object. Okay. So we got Sam the get age, but now we can get Tom the get age. We can get Tom the get age. Well, let's see how old Tom is, just for out of curiosity. I think you just want to be curious. If you computed it already, don't ruin. Okay. CLS stands for clear screen, and that's what we're doing. clearing the screen. No. Okay. Oh. So Tom is 22 years old, a bit older than Sam, but that's a practical example. That's just a basic example. So we can use a factory function to create a lot of instances of objects, but those objects, this I'll tell you. I'll tell you why we should favor when you should be using factory functions and when to be using constructors in just a second. Okay. Okay, let's comment this out. Let's say we want to create a load of instances of humans. A factoring function can do this. Let's comment this out as well. And we've seen how it works. We can also access it with we can also access the name from the function directly because it's returning an object. It's an instance of. It's now an instance of when you call the return. It's now an instance. This function is now an instance of the objects, and this keyword is now pointing to it or pointing to that object. So if I've ever called this keyword on pass this function into into another function, we can use this keyword and bind it and call it. But we won't do that now. That's just one possibility. So let's use a constructor because this is one of the ways to create objects. Another way to create an object, and it's okay. It's one of the optimal ways to create objects. In JavaScript, we create a constructor. We type in a function human. Okay, since this is a human, this is a human object constructor, and it's defined a constructor because it has a capital letter in front of the function, and this is also convention in JavaScript. This is how the engine knows it's a constructor. So because if you have a regular function, this keyword will pointing to the object itself, to the function itself, unless you do something with that function. So this is a function called name human. So this keyword in this function will point to this object, like in a function we're pointing to this function or to the variable if you want to work with variables and scopes. Okay, so this dot first name equals first name. Just what I just did here was take the input from first name and get it from the human function that's being passed in as a parameter. Okay, so this keyword is pointing to this object, and this object constructor is taking the first name from this parameter. If so, it knows where to get the object. And if we're to log out human, if we were to, let's say we had a function said get age here. Remember, we can also have object functions, or your type of data that goes in. As long as you're passing data, then it's fine. Something the JavaScript can't understand, then it's fine. Let's try this. var okay, let's think of someone else. So how we initialize an object constructor with a new keyword, because this new keyword says we're making an instance of an object named human. So in this case it's human, because we're creating new human, and that's the instance, and we you know Alexa, so that's one. Alexa, sorry, well, at least the surname is not a surname, so we'll just leave it undefined for now to show that we can pass, better yet, null, and year 1998, 1990, 2019. We don't have to pass this function get age, because it's a function assigned to a function that returns. It is a function of its own. It's this key, the key is pointing to a function. I'll show you why this is not preferable, having a function inside the scope, because it would things to get messy, and it's another practical, it's another way of it's another way of it's another way of an object-oriented conception. So we're creating an instance of human, and let's say we want to get Alexa's age. We can log Alexa get age. So Alexa is 29 years old, and this function is this get age is a property of this keyword. So we're not getting momentum, we're getting it for a function that's being pointed to the human constructor. So age is 29, and that's a way of creating objects. Another way of doing it is another way of using this function scope is through the prototype method, because this code gets messy. So what is the prototype? What is the prototype? Okay, human the prototype or dot get age equals a function. Okay, we won't put this function here, but the prototype key, the prototype object bound to the constructor is saying that for all instances of a human, in this case a human, but we can have a car, a bicycle, and we can make this equal to anything we want. So if we're doing some processing, we can make this equal to anything we want. But since we're getting the age of Alexa at the moment, this should still work. Okay, we're just looking at it funny. Okay. Okay. We should see that. What do you think will happen to this process type object? Let's run this code. Okay, if we run this file, give me a second. Hey, that's me. You can skip ahead if you want. Maybe for the next 20 seconds. Because you just go this low. Okay, that's new. Okay. 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 I'm sorry. I have to pause the recording. Okay. 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 We'll talk about in the next tutorial. Next, this has gone past 30 minutes, and I don't want to delay you any longer. So you go try creating an object called a human using a human constructor called a human. Try to create a human called Sam and Tom using a constructor, and try to get them to talk. Both of them to talk. Okay. And then try printing out that out to the node console. Basically just goes past 30 minutes. Thank you for watching and stay fresh.